Well, from one doctor and straight to another, as I had indicated earlier, in the studio we have with us Dr. Allan Ochanji. He is part of, well, the ongoing strike today, and he is here to be able to talk to us on what exactly the demands are, what exactly we can expect going forward, and of course, the fact that this is not a situation that has sprung at us out of the blues today. The fact that this has been a situation that has been a topic of conversation for some time and might continue to be a sticking point going into the future. Karibu sana daktari.
Thank you.
First off, of course, we've heard from the good doctor herself saying that part of the contention is the implementation of the collective bargaining agreement. The fact that these have been ongoing discussions, where did the breakdown come about? The fact that we're not a strike rather than a discussion to arrive at mutually agreeable terms.
Thank you for having me. May I say that in Kenya, generally, the cost of living is high.
Yes.
And every citizen in one way or the other are affected. But the doctors of this country are affected the most because the nature of their work, they work 24 hours. That means they have very little time to engage in any other income generating activity. That leaves them very much disadvantaged.
Yes.
Because of this, we ended up with a strike in 2011.
Yes.
In which case we were demanding for some terms of service. Out of that, we got some allowances reviewed, but we were told there is a ballooning wage, so we wait for a collective bargaining agreement,
yes,
which is a document that carries all our terms of service, our allowances, how much is supposed to be paid, our working conditions, the working hours, and everything in a document. So we went to this exercise with the government for more than a year after the 2011 strike.
Yes.
And on the 27th of June 2013, the document was signed. And during that year of negotiation, they took into account consumer price index, they took into account productivity index, and also wage differential index. So that by the time they were putting pen to paper, they taken into the account the implementation and where the money was going to come from.
Yes.
So we are at a point today where the government has taken more than 3 years to implement what they themselves signed. So that's why we are on a nationwide strike, demanding implementation of whatever was signed as of then, plus arrears, and factoring in inflation as of today.
And this looks like it might be something that might be drawn out. So should we be prepared literally to be in a situation where medical practitioners might have to dig in and say that we are going to hold out on giving services until this situation is resolved?
I think that's a question that is best answered by the employer, because the duty of the employer to pay the employee. We've done our due diligence and participated in a process that is constitutionally recognized.
Yes.
We have participated in this process and came up to an agreement that these are the figures that are supposed to be paid. So the government should tell Kenyans that they're willing to implement this thing or not. If they're not willing to implement it, they're simply saying that whatever we had agreed on, they're disowning it, and they're even disobeying the court that ordered them to implement it the way we had agreed. So it's not a matter of doctors withholding, it's a matter of the government going back on their words.
Let's talk about best practice, because we often hear about examples in places like Cuba and other places where the medical services are at a certain level, which we are all told we should aspire to. And they're able to take care of their doctors and other service providers in ways that enable them to be motivated and offer those services at that level. What aren't we doing right? What should we be doing so as to, head in that direction, so to say?
The best thing we should do is to implement the CBM.
Yes.
I'll give you a few scenarios as to why we can't compare ourselves to Cuba and the rest that you mentioned. The doctor in Kenya is not taken good care of.
Yes.
Yet by the doctor working, you expect the life expectancy to increase. You expect the mortality rate to go down. You also expect the number of hospital visits to increase. By all these aspects increasing and some going down, you are looking at productivity eventually increasing. Now, we are in a case where a doctor works for like 720 hours in a month. They get a basic salary of 40,000. If you do that math, it's come to about 55,000 per hour. 55,000 per hour, you cannot even afford to buy the
shillings per hour.
You cannot even afford to buy the plastic soda because it's about 70 shillings.
Yes.
Now, if you look at construction of highways, if an engineer designs a road, they get 30% of that. A consultant who was trained for more than 10 years, if this, the basic salary increases, they get something to do with 80 bob per hour. So all these things, it means that the doctor will either be demotivated or a number of them quit. So look at the economy aspect of it in this sense, that the government spends a lot of money training these doctors.
Yes.
But then at the end of the day, they don't utilize them. Even the guardian and the parents who support these people in training, they spend so much, because for you to train a doctor in a year, you need like 1 million. Our training goes for 6 years, so you're talking about 6 million. 6 million in 6 years. If that parent did not invest that money in education, let's say he took it somewhere even in government bonds and the rest, I'm so sure he'll make an income of more than the 40,000 the government is paying you per hour. So you look at it in that aspect, that we are investing so much in the education, but we are not able to make good use of them. So that is a question that should go to the government.
Yes. So finally from me, because Kenyans are yearning for services, and I know that doctors, especially being a critical segment of this society, we also want to treat you in the way that will enable you to be motivated enough to, well, give us services which will drive this nation forward. What is the one critical thing that you think we have to get right today to say that we've started to move this process forward, especially bearing in mind that the real problem here is the high cost of living that no one has even begun to talk about?
In our view, the government should seal all the loopholes.
Yes.
In terms of managing our economy better. Yes. and the budget. Because we are in a case where we have right now more MCAs than the doctors, and in fact they're earning better than doctors. In 2011 we were told there's no money. That was before the MCAs came. When they came in large numbers, more than the doctors. They paid well. Where did that money come from? Where did the money come all of a sudden to pay the governors? Did you get an oil well all overnight to pay these people? The containers and the controversy surrounding Afiaos.
Yes.
Containers were overvalued by 850 million. 850 million divided by 3,000 doctors. If you were to do that, each doctor will get an excess of 280,000. Look at the 5 billion that has just gone.
Yes.
And they are raising audit queries. If you look at the SGR, right now they're proposing additional of 49 million to take care of electrification between here and Mombasa.
Yes.
So all these aspects tells you that there's money.
Yes.
But there are loopholes that are not sealed.
Yes.
And the government is not willing to implement. And let me tell you,
yes,
if the government was to implement this CBN, they'll only spend 8 billion in a year. What is 8 billion in an economy that we're talking about a budget of trillions?
Yes.
That's like a pocket change. So the government should just come to realization that they signed a document, let them honor them. If they want our advice, we will tell them to seal the loopholes and pay the doctors.
Okay. Well, indeed, that there being the perspective from the doctors themselves, the fact that this situation has been precipitated mainly because the employer, that of course being the government, having refused to implement its end of that bargain. We have